Welcome to today's review of the Mk2 Ford Focus, the windy edition. Now, I appreciate it's one of those cars that we see everywhere on UK roads at the moment, but give it about 10 years and this car will become quite rare. So stick around to watch the review about a car we may one day lose. Was produced between 2004 and 2011 and was faceless in 2008. Now it obviously replaced the Mark 1, got replaced by the Mark 3, but it's one of those cars that was hugely successful, especially in the UK. They were always in the top 10 sales charts, massively successful car for Ford, but a combination of being hugely successful and a combination of its styling originally starting off as a little bit stoic, should we say, a bit more dowdy, a bit restrained is probably a polite way of putting it. It became extremely common extremely quickly. And now this car, even though it's getting on a bit, they're still quite common because of they're surprisingly reliable cars. But it's because of that popularity and because of that lack of image, these cars are taken for granted. They get trashed and then binned. And I reckon within 10 years, these will become extremely rare. I reckon that in 10 years, these will be cars that we look back on and they become quite desirable. Mark 1 Ford Focus will also be the same, I reckon, as well. We already did that with the Mark 5 Escorts. They were rubbish at one point. Nobody wanted them, or they were just junk. They were just buying for scrap money. Now they're very, very desirable. And I reckon the same thing will happen to these Focuses, Mark 1s and Mark 2s. This particular one's actually a bit of a unique one, partly because it's got an interesting colour scheme. It's what Ford call Tango Red. But it's also the four-door Saloon, which has never been a big seller in the UK. Other parts of continental Europe it might be, but not so much in the UK. But there's a lot to like about these cars. Now, they did come in a range of engines. You had the standard 1.6 with about 99 brake horsepower. This one has a 1.6 with what is, Ford refers to as a TI VCT. Someone tell me what that means in the comments. And that's had about 115 brake horsepower with a lot more torque. And the reason they did that was to try and make it feel similar a bit to the diesels, I guess, and to make the 1.6 not feel as lethargic as the 99 brake horsepower guys is. I've owned 3 different Mark 2s. I've owned 2 previous diesels. One was pre-facelift, one was post-facelift, and they're fantastic. The diesels on those are one of the best diesels I've ever driven. I've not driven many diesels, I'll put my hands up, but I like the diesels on the Ford Focus. They're very good. Their reliability is questionable, but the ones I have are reliable. I like them. But this being the 1.6 petrol, I expected it to be a bit of a drop in the way it performed. And you know what? It doesn't do that at all. It's fantastic. It still handles, and bear in mind I've owned the Mark 1 as well, it still handles as brilliantly as the Mark 1, but you have all the extra power and all the extra comfort. And with the Saloon body as well, I think you have a bit more extra rigidity in the corners. I think it handles better. And obviously the hatchback handles well. Bear in mind I had diesels and they were both hatchbacks, and they handled really well, but this feels a bit more tight, a bit more leaner in the corners. This is a good car. And what I really like as well, it's just surprised me for a car that handles really well, it is extraordinarily comfortable. Now, I've owned a lot of cars in my lifetime, and I could say that, believe it or not, of all the cars I've owned, the most comfortable car is, and I'm expecting you all to laugh in the comments for this, but it's actually the Mark 1 Toyota Avensis. Why is that? Now, don't get me wrong, it was like driving a waterbed, really, really comfortable, but it handled absolutely terribly. It was not a good car to handle. Funny enough, I actually own a Toyota Carina E, the predecessor to the Avensis, and although it's not quite as comfortable as the Avensis, it does handle better. But I'll go back to this car, and I digress. This car is almost as comfortable as the Mark 1 Toyota Avensis I own. Now, I appreciate there's more comfortable cars out there, like Citroen DS's and XMs and Xantias, and even the Rover 75. I get that. I haven't owned those. I would love to own those. I'd love to try them. Why would you go for a Saloon Ford Focus when you can just have the Mark 3 Mondeo? But for me, I live in London. Parking spaces are tight, space is everything. And I like Saloon cars, and this is kind of a good compromise for me, because I could actually park it in tight spaces, not have a huge footprint, and still have a saloon boot, and you get the extra rigidity of a saloon body. This Mark 2 Ford Focus really does share a striking family resemblance to other Fords of its era. Look at the Mark 3 Mondeo, for example. And this particular model, being in the Saloon, really does feel like a shrunken Mondeo. I quite like that, really. Don't get me wrong, I think the Mark 1 Ford Focus looked good, but not so much as the Saloon. But with the Mark 2, the hatchback still looked good. But, you know, it was a bit common, whereas the Saloon makes it a little bit more smarter looking, I think. Now, in terms of styling, the front end I think looks really, really good. I like the fact you have the gingicators at the front, albeit small ones, but you've got gingicators. It's probably the last Ford Focus to have gingicators, unless I stand corrected. And you have these lovely triangle headlights at the front. It cuts in nicely into the bumpers with the grille kind of connecting, kind of flowing along with the lines of the headlights and the contours of the bonnet. And then you have these black paneling at the front, which I really like. Again, black paneling is by this point was starting to kind of come out of fashion, and then after that we just didn't have it at all anymore. It's almost like rubbing strips. In fact, I would say these are like rubbing strips integrated into the lower grille with a lovely integrated and recessed fog light. It gives you kind of a bit of a vintage despite not actually having an event. And you have the lovely honeycomb grille here with the Ford badge in the centre. It's stripped out at the bottom, and it's quite straightforward, quite simple, quite pragmatic. In many ways, it could be mistaken for a 90s car, but in a good way. But obviously it doesn't, because you've got the lines and the contours of something from the 2000s. The styling, I think, is really good. And actually, I'll be honest, I prefer it over the facelift. I think the facelift was trying to bring the kind of straight-laced appeal of the side of the car, for example, which was obviously in the pre-facelift, but then give it kind of the kinetic design of the Mondeo, the 2007 Mark IV Mondeo, at the front, and it didn't mesh quite well. But this flows perfectly with the sides of the car and the rest of the design. It's got a coherent design. This is what I like about this car. I like the fact you have this lovely swooping line down here. Again, contours to the wheel arch, as well as obviously the rest of the bodywork with the sheet metal. It's wonderful. It goes all the way down. In fact, that same line connects nicely into the raised belt line. I think Ford were copying Volkswagen here by getting the belt line and raising it right to the window line by just leaving a little gap here to show you that the car was beefier, bigger, comfortable, and yet solid. Much more metal exposed, and yet you've got a kind of body coloured rubbing strip, so you get that protection there. And this model has the wheel flaps as well. And I think it suits it a lot. Some cars, actually, to be fair, actually did have the indicators on the wing mirrors. This doesn't have that, which is unusual because this is one of the higher up models. And actually, that brings me on to a point. This car had two top of the range models, the gear and the titanium. But by the time the field was facelifted, the gear was dropped, and it was just a titanium, which made more sense. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of, well, it's very, very much a Mondeo at the back, but actually I think there's a hint of Mark II Volvo S40 to the back end of this car. It doesn't surprise me, to be fair. This was based on exactly the same car. There's the same car underneath. The difference between the Mark III Mondeo and the Mark II Ford Focus Saloon, obviously you've got a much more prominent indicator and reverse light cluster. No indicators, unfortunately, at this stage. For me, what I really like, my favourite feature of the rear end is a lovely smooth deck lid that just juts right the way out. You can easily put a little spoiler on here, make it look sportier. It's up to you, horses for courses, but it's the fact that you just don't really have bootless these days that are smooth and straight. Nowadays they flow into the window and they're upright. I don't like that. I just like it. It's classic saloon style, jutting straight all the way out until it gets to a nice straight edge. That's it. You also have black rubbing strips, and this particular model, because it's the gear, you got the reversing sensors, which do work, but extremely quietly. Don't understand why. If anyone knows why, please tell me in the comments. They've got the lovely black rubbing strip. I like the black rubbing strip. I think it just makes the car a little bit more lower. It was a bit more smarter looking. On the face of it, they got rid of the rubbing strip and actually had a kind of rear diffuser style thing in line with the rest of the Mark II facelift range. If you can hear a lot of wind noise in the background, I apologise. It's a warm day today, so we're going through a heat wave at the moment, which is quite rare in the UK, and my aircon needs regassing. It's always the way. So this is going to be an open window car review. But yeah, this car back in 2004, when it was released, it was loved by the critics and the press, and I can entirely agree why. It's fantastic. So I'm on the dual carriageway, driving down the wonderful roads of Essex, but when you take it off the dual carriageway and take it through the wonderful country lanes of Essex and really give it a good caning around those excellent Essex country lanes, you really feel how wonderful and dynamic that chassis really is. It's fantastic, sharp, pin sharp, going to corners. Take it on a country lane, you really enjoy this car. It does go around corners excellently. Very minimal body roll, really fun, it's really playful. It really is a smooth and compliant ride with a wonderful engine, with lots of power, excellent at the corners, decent fuel economy, space to the back for the family, stylish looks because it's a saloon as well. I think it's a good car. I just want to add to this, doesn't have a trade-off. There is no trade-off, but I had to give some kind of critique to the car. I think the interior is a touch on the dull side. do have fake wood trim. Again, I'll cover this all extensively in a longer full-length video. But fantastic car. Well done, Ford. It's a good car. I really, really like this car, and I haven't really got any foibles about the car, really. Okay, the parking sensors are a bit quiet. I don't really know. The interior could be a bit more lively-ish. Apart from age-related stuff, there isn't anything bad about this car. I think this car is a solid and a well-deserved 10 out of 10. Fantastic car. Let's enjoy it, because these cars, I reckon, won't be around that much in 10 years' time. Anyway, if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. See you later. Bye-bye.